Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the top 10 important topics for the UPSC CSE Prelims 2025 from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB. Displayed are the list of topics which we have chosen for today's discussion. The first article of the day says that the Reserve Bank of India's 3-day monetary policy review started on Wednesday, which is December 4th. Although there seems to be a broad consensus that the repo rate is likely to remain unchanged at 6.5%, there is an expectation that the central bank may announce a cut in the cash reserve ratio. In this context, we'll talk about the cash reserve ratio, in short called the CRR. See, under cash reserve ratio, the commercial banks have to hold a certain minimum amount of deposit as reserves with the central bank. Know that the percentage of cash required to be kept in the reserves as against the bank's total deposits is called the cash reserve ratio. Furthermore, the cash reserve is either stored in the bank's vault or is sent to the RBI. But the banks can't lend the CRR money to corporates or individual borrowers. Also, the banks can't use that money for investment purposes. And banks don't earn any interest on that money. Now, why do you think the banks have to reserve the cash with RBI? Since a part of the bank's deposits is with the Reserve Bank of India, it ensures that the security of the amount in case of the emergencies. And the cash is readily available when the customers want their deposits back. And at the time of high inflation, the government needs to ensure that the excess money is not available in the economy. So the CRR helps in keeping inflation under control. So if there is any threat of high inflation in the economy, RBI increases the CRR so that the banks need to keep more money in reserves, effectively reducing the amount of money that is available with the banks. So this curbs excess flow of money in the economy. Furthermore, when there is a need to pump the funds into the market, the RBI lowers the CRR rate, which in turn helps the banks provide loans to a large number of businesses and industries for investment purposes. So the lower CRR also boosts the growth rate of the economy. The second article of the day says that the Union Minister of the State for Science and Technology hailed Mission Mausam as a transformative initiative said to be a game changer for India's weather forecast capabilities, India's approach to climate and weather forecasting. In this context, we'll talk about Mission Mausam. See, this Mission Mausam is envisaged to be the multifaceted and transformative initiative to tremendously boost India's weather and climate-related science, research and services. Significantly, it will help to better equip stakeholders, including the citizens and the last mile users, in tackling extreme weather events and the impacts of the climate change. Furthermore, this ambitious program will help broaden the capacity and resilience across the communities, sectors and ecosystems in the long run. So as the part of the Mission Mausam, India will exponentially expand research and development and capacity in atmospheric sciences, especially in weather surveillance, modeling, forecasting and management. Now, what are the benefits we can expect under this Mission Mausam? See, the mission will focus on improving the observations and understanding to deliver a highly accurate and timely weather and climate information across temporal and spatial scales. This includes information on monsoon, air quality, extreme weather events, cyclones and weather interventions for managing fog, hail and rain. Now, what are the features under it? See, this mission integrates advanced observation systems, high performance computing and cutting edge technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So Mission Mausam will set a new benchmark for predicting weather with high precision. Secondly, critical elements of Mission Mausam will include the deployment of next generation radars and satellite systems with advanced sensors and high performance supercomputers, the development of improved Earth system models and a GIS-based automated decision support system for real-time data dissemination. Furthermore, it uses a GIS-based automated system for real-time data dissemination and data-driven decision making. Talking about its implementation, see, Mission Mausam is to be chiefly implemented by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Furthermore, 3 institutes of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, which are the Indian Meteorological Department, the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, and the National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, will primarily implement the Mission Mausam. The third article of the day says that the Ministry of Women and Child Development recently launched the She Box portal, which is an online system designated to help in better implementation of various provisions of the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013. Know that this act mandates appropriate government to monitor implementation and maintain data on the number of cases filed and disposed of. In this context, we'll talk about the She-Box portal. See, the full form of She-Box is Sexual Harassment Electronic Box. Know that it is launched by the Ministry of Women and Child Development with the purpose of providing a centralized repository of information on internal committees and local committees for the workplaces and also to provide integrated complaint monitoring system for the cases of sexual harassment at the workplace. Now, if you have to look at the key features, firstly, with respect to filing the complaints, who can file the complaint? See, any aggravated woman and any other person on behalf of the complainant can file the complaint. Know that the registration is done to details such as work status, name, phone number and email. But then with respect to the monitoring and tracking, the nodal officers of the central, state and UT and district level officers have dashboards to monitor the number of complaints filed, disposed and pending, and also the timelines for the complaint resolution. Furthermore, the complainant can track the status of the complaints and there is also reporting facility to generate reports for better monitoring. Significantly, the complainant's details are masked, so only the chairperson of the IC or LC can view the complainant details. Then, if you have to look at the legal framework under it, see, it is developed under the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013. Furthermore, there is 90 days is the prescribed time for inquiry as per the Act. Now, why is this significant? See, firstly, it ensures accountability and transparency in handling the complaints. Secondly, it strengthens the compliance with the POSH Act. Then, lastly, it empowers the woman by providing a structured redressal mechanism. The next article of the day says that the PSLV C59 or the Proba-3 mission, initially scheduled for launch at 4:08 p.m. on Wednesday, has been rescheduled to 4:12 p.m. on Thursday after the detection of an anomaly. In this context, we'll talk about the Proba-3 mission. See, the Proba-3 mission is a pioneering initiative by the European Space Agency, marking the world's first precision formation flying mission. Know that it is the innovative mission which will demonstrate precision formation flying between two satellites to create an artificial eclipse revealing new views of the sun's faint corona. Now, what are the objectives of the mission? See, the core objective of the mission is to create an artificial eclipse by precisely coordinating two independent satellites. So, this capability will enable the scientists to observe sun's corona, which is a region typically obscured by the intense brightness of the sun. Know that it consists of two small satellites, a coronagraph spacecraft and a solar disk-shaped occultus spacecraft. Now, these satellites will be launched together, then separate from each other and then fly in tandem. So, these two satellites will mimic a natural solar eclipse. Furthermore, they will maneuver precisely in Earth's orbit so that one satellite casts a shadow on the other. Now, if we have to talk about the instruments on the Proba-3, firstly ASPIACS, which is a coronagraph designed to block out the sun's intense light, allowing detailed observation of the corona structure. Then we have DARA, which is a digitally absolute radiometer to measure the sun's total energy output, aiding in solar irradiation research. And lastly, we have 3Ds, which is the 3D energetic electron spectrometer that will study the flux of energetic electrons in space, contributing to the space weather analysis. The next article says that after spending over a year inside protective enclosures, two cheetahs, Agni and Vayu, were released into open the forest area of the Kuno National Park on the occasion of the International Cheetah Day on Wednesday. In this context, we'll talk about Cheetah first, then Project Cheetah, and lastly about the Kuno National Park. See, the cheetah is the fast running big cat. Know that there are two types of cheetahs globally. One are the African and the other are the Asiatic cheetahs. So the cheetahs live in three groups where females with cubs, male coalitions and solitary males. Significantly, they hunt during the day, preferring dawn and dusk. Moving on to talk about the IUCN status. So they are in the under the vulnerable status globally, and the Asiatic cheetah, whichever is there, is the critically endangered. Now, what about the Project Cheetah? See, the Cheetah Reintroduction Project in India formally commenced on September 17th of 2022 to restore the population of cheetahs which were declared extinct in the country in the year 1952. Significantly, the project involves the translocation of cheetahs from South Africa and Namibia to the Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. Know that the project is implemented by the National Tiger Conservation Authority in collaboration with the Madhya Pradesh Forest Department, Wildlife Institute of India, and cheetah experts from Namibia and South Africa. Now, what are the objectives of the Project Cheetah? See, firstly, to restore the ecological role of cheetahs in India's ecosystems, then to promote conservation efforts for cheetahs globally, and lastly, to contribute to the national biodiversity and habitat conservation. Now, moving on to talk about the Kuno National Park. See, it is located in the Shivpur district of Madhya Pradesh. Significantly, it's nestled near the Vindhya Hills. Furthermore, it is named after the Kuno River, which is one of the main tributaries of the Chambal River that cuts across it. See, initially established as a wildlife sanctuary, it was only in 2018 that the government changed the status into a national park. So the Kuno National Park was selected under the action plan for introduction of cheetah in India. So this area was deemed a habitat parallel to Masai Mara, which is a national park in Kenya suitable for cheetahs. The next article says that South Africa's opposition parties on Wednesday submitted a motion to impeach President Yoon Suk Yeol over the short-lived martial law that drove heavily armed troops to encircle parliament before the lawmakers climbed walls to re-enter the building and unanimously voted to lift his order. In this context, we will talk about the President of India's impeachment. See, the President of India is the highest office of the land under the constitutional framework of India. So, the office of the President of India has been envisaged as the head of the Indian state, the first citizen of India, the titular or the nominal or the de jure head of the Union Executive, and lastly, the Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Armed Forces. So, talking about his impeachment, according to Article 61, the President can be removed from his office before the expiry of his term only on the grounds of violation of the Constitution. However, the Constitution does not define the meaning of the phrase violation of the Constitution. So, the impeachment proceedings can be initiated by either of the House of the Parliament, with the charges being signed by 1/4 of the members of the House. Then the President is given a 14 days notice before the proceedings begin and has the right to appear and be presented during the investigation. If a resolution is passed by 2/3 of the majority of the both houses, the President is removed from the office. So, an impeachment is a semi-judicial process in Parliament. So, also know that the nominated members of either houses of the Parliament can participate in the impeachment proceedings even though they cannot vote in the presidential election. Also, the members of the state legislative assemblies and the union territories of Delhi and Puducherry who can vote in the presidential election do not participate in the impeachment proceedings. To date, significantly, no president has ever been impeached. Next article of the day says that the impact of an earthquake of magnitude 5.3 on the Richter scale that originated 40 km below the ground in the Etnagram forest area of Telangana was felt in central and northern India at 7:27 a.m. on Wednesday. Furthermore, the National Center for Seismology identified the location as 185 km northeast of Nalgonda and 219 km east-northeast of Hyderabad. In this context, we'll talk about an earthquake. See, an earthquake in simple words is the shaking of the earth. Know that it is a natural event and is caused due to the release of energy which generates waves that travel in all directions. So why does this earth shake? See, the release of energy occurs along a fault. Know that a fault is a sharp break in the crustal rocks. So the rocks along a fault tend to move in opposite directions. So as the overlying rock strata presses them, the friction locks them together. However, the tendency to move apart at some point of the time overcomes the friction, and thus as a result, the blocks get deformed and eventually they slide past one another abruptly. So this causes a release of energy and energy waves travel in all directions. Significantly, the point where the energy is released is called the focus of a magnitude, alternatively is called the hypocenter. Then the energy waves traveling in different directions reach the surface, and the point on the surface where nearest to the focus is the epicenter, which is the first one to experience the waves and is a point directly above the focus. Then, if you have to talk about the seismic zones in India, see, India is divided into four seismic zones, which are Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4, and Zone 5. Zone 5 experiences the highest seismic activity, while Zone 2 has the lowest. Furthermore, Telangana falls under Zone 2, categorizing it as a low intensity seismic zone. The next article says that services sector growth in India's private sector receded a tad in November, but new international orders expanded at the fastest pace in 3 months, and players reported an unprecedented uptick in the new hires of the permanent and temporary staff as per private gauge based on a survey of 400 odd firms. In this context, we'll talk about the PMI, which is the Purchasing Managers Index. So it is a survey-based measure that asks the respondents about the changes in their perception about key business variables as compared with the previous month. Know that the purpose of the PMI is to provide information about current and future business conditions to company decision makers, analysts, and investors. Furthermore, there are two types of PMI: manufacturing PMI and the services PMI. Know that it is calculated separately for the manufacturing and the services sectors, and the composite index is also constructed. Notably, the PMI is a number from 0 to 100. So a print above 50 means expansion, while a score below that denotes contraction. Furthermore, a reading at 50 indicates no change. So if the PMI of the previous month is higher than the PMI of the current month, it represents that the economy is contracting. It is usually released at the start of every month, and it is therefore considered a very good leading indicator of economic activity. Significantly, PMI is compiled by ISH Market, which is compiled for more than 40 economies worldwide. And know that this ISH Market is a global leader in information analytics and solutions for major industries and markets that drive economies worldwide. Furthermore, this ISH Market is part of the S&P Global. The next article says that Indian origin Scottish artist Jocelyn Kaur has won the prestigious Turner Prize 2024 for her exhibition Altar that reflects upon the plurality, personal and political themes. In this context, we'll talk about the Turner Prize. See, the Turner Prize is one of the most prestigious awards in the world of contemporary art, given annually to a British artist or an artist working in Britain. Know that established in 1984 by the Tate Gallery, it has gained a global recognition for lightning, innovative and provocative works of art. Now, what are the key features of the Turner Prize? See, firstly, its purpose is that it celebrates contemporary visual art in the UK and encourages public discussion and appreciation of modern art. Secondly, talking about its eligibility, see, it is open to British artists and those working primarily in Britain, and it recognizes the artists under 50 years of age. Furthermore, the prize money for this is £25,000 for the winner and £10,000 for the each shortlisted artist. Then also the selection is awarded for an outstanding exhibition for the contribution to contemporary art in the preceding year. And lastly, it is managed by Tate Britain, which is an independent jury of art experts, critics, and curators selects the nominees and the winner. The last article of the day talks about the lake effect snow. See, the lake effect snow is a meteorological phenomenon that occurs when cold air passes over the warm lake water, creating narrow bands of heavy snowfall. Know that this phenomenon is common around the Great Lakes region in the United States, affecting the states like New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. Now, how is the lake effect triggered? Firstly, the cold air, often originating from Canada, moves over to relatively warm waters of the Great Lakes. So the warmer air over the lakes rises and pushes moisture higher into the atmosphere. Then the air must already contain sufficient moisture for the lake effect to occur. Furthermore, the moisture from the lakes contributes, but the most of the required moisture comes from the cold air mass. Now, then the rising moisture-laden air moves into cooler atmosphere zones conducive to snowfall, and this results in the formation of clouds capable of producing heavy precipitation. Now, if we have to talk about the key characteristics of the lake effect snow, Firstly, it has narrow snow bands. So the lake effect snow occurs in thin, localized bands, and these bands can lead to drastic differences in snowfall totals within short distances. Then, also the intense snowfall rates of 5 to 8 centimeter per hour are common. Forecasting is challenging as small places in the wind direction can significantly impact where the highest snowfall occurs. Significantly, lake effect snow is common in the Great Lakes region and can vary dramatically in the instant across short distances. So it occurs when the cold air passes over warm lake water, creating moisture laden clouds that produce heavy snowfall. So while it typically results in manageable snowfall, severe events can lead to significant disruptions such as collapsed structures and stranded travelers. And lastly, the understanding the mechanics and impacts of the lake effect snow is crucial for residents in affected lakes to prepare for and mitigate its effects. So in this video, we have discussed 10 articles in total for today. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.